All right, all right. Hello, everybody. I am Jerome Armstrong, guest hosting the Carnivore Muscle Ramblings today. Jonathan will be with us briefly. He's been having some Wi-Fi issues, and oddly enough, and he's discussed this before. Seemingly, when he hops on StreamYard, sometimes a lot of his settings that he has had set from previous streams get all sorts of discombobulated and mixed up. So, at least until Jonathan hops back on, I will be handling this one solo in the brief future. So, as always, be sure to get your questions in, preferably if you can tag them with a Q right at the beginning. We will address them all in due time. And I think a good way to start until Jonathan hops back on, seeing as I missed last week, would be a good way to kind of update you guys on the contest prep. This upcoming Saturday is going to be 12 weeks until the OCB Mount Rogers, November 18th, 2023 in Virginia. And quite excited about this contest. There's a certain degree of familiarity. So to get started, I guess let me see who's here first. First of all, is a big Niev. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Hi, folks. Everyone have a nice evening. And as always, hit the like button. There's Jonathan.
Hey, how's it going? Sorry for me being late, guys. My Wi-Fi is a bit messed up, and also the audio is also messed up. So Jerome's going to be on a lag behind me by the sounds of it. It's completely my fault. The Wi-Fi is out of fix. We have the best Wi-Fi we could possibly get. We've got the best microphone I can get, the best webcam I can get, and still things mess up. So sue me.
Yeah.
Let us know how you're
fault.
all doing in the chat as well.
I was basically telling everybody until you hop on, I was going to see who was here for the chat, and I was going to update everybody on the preparation so far. So the fact that you hopped in when you did is awesome. Takes a lot of pressure off of my shoulders, and easy is good.
Oh yeah, that's always a goal. Makes it a bit easier. Yeah, so how are things going, Jerome? So you know how I work pretty much. So of course, do you notice that anything's going down or up? How's your training going? Your soreness, things like that as well.
Yeah. So I suppose this is. Let me think. This is like week 4-ish, right at the beginning. I think of you and I kind of working together on this. The first week, the soreness was relatively moderate. The week after, I felt really, really run into the ground, and people might have to go back. I don't want to elaborate too long, but basically, I work 85 to 90 hours a week, and my sleep schedule runs pretty light. So after the first week, I felt pretty much sick. So like week number 2, I didn't train at all. I got back into training last week, and everything went well. Numbers are going up. And I have my workout today after we're done with the Carnivore Muscle Ramblings. In terms of diet, the way that you originally structured diet for me was a breakfast, lunch, dinner. Every meal was exactly the same: 200 grams of beef, 30 grams of cheddar cheese, 20 grams of butter. And I basically, over the last week and a half or so, I've cut that down to 2 meals. And what's going really well for me right now is I'm still getting those exact same macros in, but I have that cut down to 1 meal. I'm kind of playing that one instinctually in terms of how many meals I should have in the day, but I'm keeping the food amount exactly the same. Maybe more, or most importantly, and I've sent you a couple of physique photos. I'll send you another one. My daughter has my phone right now. I'll send you another physique update, but weight is continuing to drop. I was 241 today, so definitely this week I'll be in the 230s. And before we started, like when I first got my scale, I was 273. And then right when we got started, I was basically 255. So being down 14, 15 pounds in a couple of weeks so far, we're pushing it aggressively. But it's going really well so far. Like I said, I've been sticking to the plan. It's your job to come up with the plan. It's my job to execute it. And I know I haven't been the best with documenting it, but aside from 2 weeks ago when I basically felt sick like the entire week and run down the entire week, been getting my workouts in every day. Diet's been down to the macro. I'm still weighing all of my food exactly down to the gram, pre-cooked. When my beef is done cooking, I'm turning the pan upside down and draining it. And then I'm taking my spatula and I'm trying to get all of the fat out of the pan. I'm trying to be as precise with this as possible to give us as much consistency when we need to objectively make adjustments to the plan. and you've seen the pictures. It's hard to, and I know you're only getting one. I need to turn around, take some pictures from the back, probably show off my legs. Clothes are clothes are definitely fitting a lot more loose. I'm between sizes right now, so I find myself wearing a lot of the same shirts because I have like 3 shirts that kind of fit okay, but most everything I have is starting to get really baggy. Pants are starting to fall off me a little bit, and I don't own a belt. So I guess I should probably just buy a belt in the meantime. But another couple of weeks, I'll be down another pant size. So suffice it to say, so far, I feel like prep's going really well. Um, Cutting food down to 1 meal a day has just been better for me to help control hunger. Um, but yeah, I think everything's I feel like I don't have too much to update. Things are going really straightforward and really well so far.
Yes, by the sounds of it, things are going swimmingly. At this sort of point in the preparation, because things are working, there's nothing to change. Kind of like I know you updated me earlier this week of your weight. I think it's 242, and I know it's gone now to 241. That's a substantial weight loss, like 15, 16 pounds or something, in a couple of weeks. So, we have nothing to do here, really. Like you said, you're still doing the training, you're still eating, you're not binging, you're doing what's needed. So there's nothing really I would change. All to be conscious of is the recovery, how you're feeling, like your mood. But that will probably be a bit different, maybe 2 months down the line from now anyway. So that's the sort of point where I'll be looking at you and saying, okay, let's sit down for a half an hour chat. Let's have a consultation for a bit.
Sure.
Let's see where your mind's at and see how you're doing. It's all good people writing on a piece of paper, oh, I feel good. But when you speak to someone, you pick up a few little like tidbits, the mannerisms, things like that. So it's always helpful to do. So yeah, I'm happy with your progress. There's nothing really to change.
Thank you. Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and I need to I need to get better with scheduling sleep into my days. And you know my schedule. I have 4 days where they're basically 4 consecutive 16 plus hour days, and some days those are closer to 18-hour days. And I need to get better with finding naps in my schedule and finding times in my day where I can sleep for 2 to 3 hours at a clip at the time. That's been getting a little bit better, but I also think my circadian rhythm is getting a little bit more used to that type of schedule. So it looks like Jonathan may have disconnected again. So I'm going to go back to the comments until Jonathan hops on. But let's see. I know I said Zbigniew was here. Ben, good to see you. Let's pull you up quick. Rick says it's a ducky afternoon. Rick, I'd love to change putting 40-year carnivore in your channel description. That's fantastic. There was a big need of requested updates on preparations. Yeah, I mean, really, my original plan was on my channel was to do very brief daily updates, 5-minute videos, kind of what's going through my head that day. And what I've really found is I just feel like I don't have much significant to say. And I'm not sure people are going to tune in to just hear me say, listen, I'm continuing to stick to the plan right now. Everything feels like it's going well. And I don't really have anything novel to update people on. So looks like Jonathan is back. The lovely Sophie is here.
Hello.
Sophie and I had a very pleasant conversation this morning. It's always good to talk to you. And if I can
Great.
plug Sophie for a little bit, Sophie had recently officially started her own YouTube channel. So everybody should go subscribe to that.
Yes, please. Muscle Mama Sophie.
Mhm. And it's Mama, I think MUMMA, if that's correct. Okay.
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah,
I'll find it and
that
I'll
is
post it in the
correct.
chat for you
Because
guys
I'm a
to
mum who's
to
trying
take
to
a
gain
follow.
muscle called Sophie. That's my name there.
Jonathan, I like the shirt.
Oh no, it's just tired. It's here.
And I was talking to Jonathan before we went live today. I have a similarly a sleeveless T-shirt with his logo on it. This is Composition Consultants. And what do you think, Jonathan? Should I tell people what originally it said underneath that? I put
Yeah,
some
let the viewers know. Let them know.
I thought it would be funny to have Jonathan's logo on a shirt like that and record my workout footage. And then because I was making the shirt on Amazon, I could put whatever I wanted underneath it. So it had composition consultant on the chest, his logo, and then right under that I wrote "fuck boy," but I didn't order that. So,
Damn it.
and there's the link to Sophie's channel.
Thank you very much.
All right, brilliant. I'll talk for a minute or so because I don't know if you guys are talking, but it's really glitchy. So I apologise in advance to the chat if there is any echo. It's way out of my control now. I've been trying to fix it for about 10 days straight. Bar going insane. There's not much else I can do. So, yeah, anyway, so this is a place to get your carnivore, nutrition, exercise questions answered by two people that apparently seem to know what's going on. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, Sophie, how you doing? How was your day at work?
I'm good, thank you. It was very long, very hot and tiring. So you've got me for about half an hour before I have to shower and get ready because I've got it the same again tomorrow. So Jonathan is on daddy duties tomorrow as well.
Yeah, I managed to edit one video today when Maddie had an hour's nap. I watched a lot of Paw Patrol, I think. Didn't get around to watching Yu-Gi-Oh, sadly. I was too busy. Went outside, played on trampoline. Well, I led on the side of the trampoline, the girls bounced me. We did some digging for worms. All that sort of cool stuff. Yeah, so that's about it. They've had a great day anyway. An action-filled day. So brilliant. Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much in this just because I'm a bit dubious about how good the internet quality is. I don't really want to subject the viewers to lots of stress and lagging and glitching in the feed. So yeah, we'll be happy to answer anyone's questions as they come along. I appreciate you guys coming.
Mm-hmm.
And for anyone listening, if it sounds like we're kind of taking turns and there's a bit of a gap between us talking individually, one of the audio issues that we were trying to sort out before we went live today is it seems like when we're both have audio going at the same time, like we're getting an echo. So when Jonathan is talking, I'm muting my mic. Same with when Sophie is talking. And similarly, Jonathan has muted his microphone so that we avoid any echoes, and we're trying to keep this fairly quality for you guys.
Yeah, brilliant.
There's nothing else I could do with the Wi-Fi. It's as good as I can get it. I have a feeling it's just my area because I've asked like my neighbours and they say it's exactly the same. They've got the top of the range that they could get and it's just as crap. So I feel like it's just the area, I'm afraid. I'm as good as I can get with it.
Yeah, so I'm going to scoot through the chat now and see what's going on. So we've got Zbigniew in the house. Thank you for joining. He's joined us from Poland. It might be quite late for him to stay on, but I appreciate you stopping by. We've got Ben. Excellent client. Asks really good questions. I'm amazed how many questions you can ask about eating meat and going to the gym. But every day I speak to him, I'm surprised. So it's good to fine tune my knowledge and get different experience from different people. Kind of went over preparations. That's good to hear. Got Tom, channel member Tom. Tom's been following my channel now for, I want to say like 4 or 5 months now. So I appreciate his custom. I'm able to deliver him some good new early access content, which I look forward to. So for anyone that doesn't know, I will be releasing some specifically channel member only videos in coming weeks, and I'll probably do one every few months or so, like something maybe, or at least frequent enough that it's worth your time for one, was it £2 per month or something. So that'll be stuff that's really useful for you guys. That is like a how to do it, all the parameters around training, all parameters around nutrition, and some bits of it will be little snippets out of the book that Jerome and I are writing. So it's a good way if you don't want to spend whatever amount we charge for the book to get a bit of inside info. So hopefully, guys, you do join the channel with that. I've got 3 different tier options. I think they're about £2, £4, and £9, something like that. But they're pretty affordable for the most part. I do value you guys your custom, so thank you for that. Keep looking for the chats. We've got Luz. We got Mike. What was Evan's workout? My workout today was picking up Maddie from the floor. She's about 12, 13 kilos of dense mass. Very exhausting. It's the heaviest thing I've deadlifted in about 9 months now. So probably about a year actually now I think about it. But yeah, what about you guys? What about you, Jerome and Sophie? You lifted today?
Not yet. I'll be lifting once we are done with the carnivore muscle ramblings today. I have upper body push, and it's one of those where I always kind of get a bit anxious before a workout because I try and push every set as hard as I can. So I have a real approach avoidance kind of love hate relationship with strength training. Part of me really loves the momentary discomfort. Part of me just can't stand it. So I have that coming up in probably about an hour. What about you, Sophie?
Well, I pushed a wheelchair in and out of the ambulance twice today, and then pushed a stretcher in and out with somebody on it, lifted it up and over a step a couple of times. So technically a push lift kind of day. But that's it. On a work day, I don't tend to do an actual workout because I've just had a 10-hour work day and I'm already exhausted. So that'll be me. I think my next proper workout will be about Wednesday evening because I'm taking Jonathan back Wednesday morning. So yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm probably going to train either Wednesday at my brother's, but that's something Sophie and I need to confirm beforehand because we may not be going there. If not, it'll be Thursday morning, and I think it'll be a push workout. So I did legs yesterday, wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
I lifted all the weight in the gym apparently, so I should get you some good growth. We've got Baddest Cat. How's it going? Nice to see you here. Got Connor Dane. That's quite a cool name. Got Gabrielle Pereira. Sorry if I butchered your name. I can't sleep the carnivore diet. What could it be? Sophie, what do you think? How much experience with this?
I think. I mean, I struggle to sleep, but that's not due to the diet. That's due to kids and the fidget who's in my bed with me. But it could be maybe fat. Yes, you with your hand up. That's you. It could be your fat. Is your fat high enough? Is your protein high enough, or are they too high? It could just be that you're either ingesting, if that's the right terminology, too much or not enough. Could you be well hydrated during the day? And then again, temperature, I don't know where you live, but I know Jonathan, if it's too hot, he can't sleep. If it's too cold, I can't sleep. And again, too hot, I've got to be just right. That's all I can really think of off the top of my head, to be honest.
I've seen some studies to suggest that having too big of a meal too close to bedtime can mess with people's sleep. My personal experience has always kind of been the opposite. For me, when I have a big meal, I kind of enter that rest and digest um, kind of state. So I generally, if I eat one meal a day, I'd like having it a little bit later in terms of dinner. I feel like it helps kind of tire me out, all the blood flow going, to my digestive tract kind of helps me wind down the night. But my dad, interestingly enough, when he goes very, very low carb or on ketogenic diets, he has trouble sleeping because he just has so much energy. Whether a lot of that's coming from dietary fat or whether he's just metabolizing a high rate of his own body fat, not quite sure. So those are just a couple of things that come to mind. I think in a comment a little bit further down, you either got a suggestion from somebody else or maybe you outline some greater details in terms of what your normal eating habits are. But I would, I'd be curious how many times a day you're eating, how big those meals are, how close they are to bedtime, and just in general, how you tend to feel after a meal. Me personally, the closer I am to fasted, the better I generally feel. And if I have a big meal, I tend to feel a little bit sluggish. So I can kind of manipulate that to have more or less energy throughout the day and be a little bit more tired at night. But I would recognize that that's going to vary quite a bit from person to person.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with sleeping on the carnivore diet, it usually comes down to the fact that someone's stressed out their body. It's usually that people that approach carnivore diet, it's not that people I notice they get on it, they're fine, then all of a sudden it goes bad. It's usually when people start. So something where people's body is adjusting to it. Perhaps they haven't got the macronutrients around about the right sort of range, so the protein and fat. It could be that you're eating too close to bedtime. It could be that your gut's just not quite ready yet to deal with the lower electrolyte levels that you're taking in for a carnivore diet. So perhaps you need to use some supplements of some kind, either a topical magnesium spray might be useful, or even a capsule. I'd probably recommend magnesium glycinate. There are some supplements that are useful, but they're not long-term fixes, so they're more of a transition. So with any supplements you're looking to use it for its given effect, then wean yourself off, and hopefully you'll notice that by the time you've gone through that cycle, you've kind of changed your body enough that it's adapted and it can deal with whatever it needs to deal with to be able to sleep better. Sometimes people as well, they stress too much. I mean, I think the carnivore diet is good for sleep. It means, at least for me and a lot of people, you sleep less in terms of hours, but your sleep quality will go up. So it might be that you are actually sleeping enough and you're well rested, but rather than sleeping 8 hours a night, you're sleeping 6 or 7. So that's also a possibility. But yeah, I personally, if I'm honest, I'd recommend a consultation just to go through everything with you. So either with Jerome or myself or anyone else really, because we want you to be able to sleep well. Get in touch with one of us or someone that is a sleep expert and see what's going on. It could be something very seemingly obvious to us, but something which you might not have picked up on. But hopefully that's helpful. If you've got any more details that we can extrapolate from and be able to help you with from that information, then please let us know in the comments and we'll be able to give you some more assistance.
Yes, because sleep is the most important thing for recovery, as we all know. It's also the thing that people forget about when it comes to recovery.
All right, next question. Marwin says, "What is your opinion on early time restricted feeding? Is there a major difference between eating early or late?" Sophie, what do you think? Not to put you on the spot and make you go first.
I think it's all, I think it's all personal preference. Your body doesn't know times. It has no idea what time of fucking day it is. So if you're hungry earlier, eat. If you're hungry later, eat. I don't like to eat too late, personally, because I don't like to go to bed on a really full stomach. I then just feel a bit ugh. I know some people like the feeling of being sluggish, so then they can, clunk right out, but I can't do that. I can eat early, not a problem. I'm used to it being up early with the kids and stuff. I don't like to eat too early and then train, so I like to have a good hour to an hour and a half in between. But other than that, I don't think there's a major difference. It all depends on how your body works, how you feel, what you're doing after you're eating, whether it's going to make a difference. But yeah, like I say, your body hasn't got a clue what the time of day is.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Everybody's body responds a little bit different. A lot of the studies I've seen around time restricted eating suggest that it's probably a little bit better for most individuals to scoot it earlier in the day. At least for me, in general, usually once I have that first meal of the day, I always have some kind of slight degree of hunger for most of the rest of the day. And if I just have one meal a day, or if I push my meals back later in the day, I don't have any hunger until again that first meal. So it's going to be what works best for you and fits within your own schedule and your own personal preferences. It's my opinion. What do you think, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think you guys have both outlined that really well. There's nothing really I could think to add other than for me, if I had a choice, and bear in mind I have intermittent fasted for a period of about 4 years straight in the past, so I've tried it both ways, basically either early eating or late eating. And for me personally, I found that I would rather eat all my food earlier in the day than later in the day. That's irregardless of what time I would train in the day as well. I know from memory that Marwin is concerned about building muscle, maybe building strength as well. So for you, if you're going to put that feeding window anywhere, I'd probably put it somewhere close to your training period of time. Not because it makes a world of difference, but because it makes a bit of difference. So it's that 1% if you're looking for that. But yeah, I think the main takeaway is what it allows you to sleep best, train best if you're going to the gym, and assimilate and digest your food the best. I know our ability to digest is usually better in the morning. We have less diluted stomach acid. We have a higher capacity because our gut is more empty because there's nothing in it overnight. So that's one possible thing. I know some people like Dr. Chafee, they tend to eat 1 meal per day, and that'll be like, don't quote me, but maybe 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night sometimes. So he eats late in the night, but that's him. He also drinks, from what I remember, about 9 liters per day. So he seems to be quite an anomaly in a lot of things. So he wouldn't be a good average mean reference to go by, if that makes sense. He's also like 6'3" and jacked, so maybe that comes into it. I don't know, but like some people, like him, he's probably got fast metabolism. He's always ripped, so he can probably deal with that food at night much better than most people and not feel much negative side effects from it. But I'd say for most people, probably earlier in the day or at least in the middle of the day, failing that at a time which makes most sense to you, I think.
All right, I guess I'll read this one too. On a rest pause set, would you have the 10 to 15 seconds rest at the bottom or the top of the exercise, or just rack the weights? I use barbell and dumbbells, no machines. Jonathan, you want first crack at this?
Yeah, sure. So, personally, given the fact that I know Ben's using a home gym sort of setup, I'd probably, it depends on the exercise. For example, an incline chest press or decline chest press, if you've got a rack that allows you to rack it for 15 seconds, that's probably what I would do. I wouldn't do it with dumbbells, just because if you get pretty strong, you're going to put them on your knees or put them on the floor, then reach up, pick them up. You end up using more energy to actually use to get the weights up to you. So that's probably not a good idea. Now, for something like I don't know, a dumbbell curl, yeah, you could probably just put them in the bench in front of you without too much stress, pick them up, put them down again, as long as they don't roll off. So it's probably quite exercise specific. Now, resting at the top or bottom of the exercise, I'd rest at the bottom personally, because you're going to be occluding the muscle in a lot of cases. If you're, say, in the case of a bicep curl, say you rest up here, okay, your biceps are quite short in that position, so they're going to occlude, so they're going to get too much blood flow to them, so they'll get a disproportionate level of lactic acid in response to the amount of muscle recruitment that you're going to, I don't know, acquire in the sets downstream. So you're better off just taking that set to where you need to get it, put it down, rest, 10, 15 seconds, pick it up again. But what I'd probably say with that in mind is, it depends what it is. You might actually find a benefit in like your forearm training if you hold on to, like, say, a dumbbell. So that might be something you're trying to work on as well. Lots of ifs, buts, and maybes. But that's pretty much it, I think. So yeah, I'd definitely be resting at the bottom, at least in a position where you can relift it in a safe fashion. What do you think, Jerome?
Yeah, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say it depends a lot on the exercise. Conventional rest pause, if you can, you set the weight down and take the tension off the muscles you're trying to work. Um, But yeah, depending on the movement, if you can't seemingly set the weight down, I would try and hold it in a position that kind of kept the least amount of tension on the muscles. You're trying to allow yourself a little bit of recovery so that you can give yourself another hard stimulus and really tap into some of those faster twitch fibers. What you may want to try, um, and I've heard it talked about, and I've never tried it myself, is if you're doing like an exercise machine, um, when you're doing rest pause, consider keeping just a little bit of tension on the muscles, just enough to keep a lot of those slow twitch fibers from recovering. So if you're going to do a 10 or 15-second rest pause on like a chest press or a shoulder press, don't just set the weight down entirely and let go for 10 to 15 seconds. Keep just a little bit of tension on it to where it's still resting on the weight stack, but not so much that you're completely taking everything off of your muscles. And the idea with that is you're keeping just enough going there that those those slow twitch muscle fibers won't fully recover, and you'll be able to tap in to the intermediate and fast twitch when you finally do those repetitions after that point. Um, I haven't exactly tried it. It sounds interesting. But really at that point, we're kind of splitting hairs. What about you, Sophie?
I mean, I'm no means a gym expert, as we can see. But when I did kind of a bit of rest pause, and I again was doing barbell, dumbbell stuff at home, wherever I felt the most tired. So if I was at the top of the shoulder press and I was like, I'm a bit exhausted, tired, whatever you want to call it, gave myself a few seconds, then I would go down and continue. Or if I was at the bottom, it would be that way. If I'm here and I need a few seconds, then I'll do that and continue. It's also where it's safest. If I was there, if you're safer, some people, I don't know, might be stronger to hold it at the top than they would be at the bottom. If you feel safer that way, that you're not going to injure yourself, then do it that way. But again, I'm no gym expert, so please listen to the two boys who are actual gym experts. I didn't do much rest pause. I don't know what the right terminology is, but I would do, I don't know, like 10 reps, take a few seconds, do as many more as I could, take a few seconds, do as many more as I could. I don't know whether that's rest pause and just less pause. I don't quite know. I'm still learning all the terminology of everything.
Yep. No, you nailed it. That's definitely a rest pause. And you know what? Like you say that people should listen to us, but you brought up the one topic that Jonathan and I probably should have addressed first is safety is paramount. So gold star for the day, Sophie.
Because I'm a woman. Thanks. Safety first.
Yeah, I apologise, guys. I've made a serious error whilst I've been busy looking for links and things. I've missed some of the questions, so apologise for that.
Dun, 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 dun,
One question's actually a repeat of the same question that the same person asked a few months ago. Bear with me. Sorry, 1 second. There we go. Okay, sorry, Marwin, I missed your question. Does meal timing, for example, OMAD or 3 meals a day, matter in terms of losing fat if the overall amount of food is equal? That's a really good question, because I don't know if you're here earlier in the chat with Jerome, but we spoke a little bit about his contest preparation phase and the fact that he's kind of going intermittently between maybe 3 and 2 meals per day. And he sort of said to me, can I do 2 meals a day? I said, well, yeah, if it makes more sense to you and you can still do it, you don't feel sick from eating more food, and you still get that bliss point when you eat the food, you still train hard, then it's not the biggest deal. I think when that sort of thing does make a difference is when you're pushing your body weight really, really high to gain more muscle, or you're pushing your body weight really, really low to lose more fat. So if an example that someone was, I don't know, say my weight like 245, 240 pounds, looking to go to 270, that's going to be a lot of work. For me, I'm going to have to split my meals up more, and it's going to be more impactful if I split his meals up, just because I'm going to have to stomach that food, and you'll probably get it'll probably be much easier if you split it up more than stuffing your face once a day feeling sick, Now, in contrast to that, if you're very lean, say, I don't know, 4 or 5% body fat, you're going to be going by your training metrics, so how you perform in the gym. So if your training performance is going down, you're sleeping like crap, you're doing, say, OMAD, okay, try 2 meals a day. Try it for a week, maybe 2 weeks, give it a fair assessment period, then try it for three meals per day. What you might find is, all that being said, if you're just really lean, you'll be starving. So there's not much you can do in terms of that kind of situation, but that's pretty much it, what I think. I think the most important thing is just getting the food down in the day. Then there probably is a small effect once you get to either end of the spectrum, which might account for maybe up to 20% at most, I think. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I was thinking similar thoughts. I lean on the idea that one meal a day compared to multiple meals a day. One might be a little bit better for fat loss solely because your body just may not have enough digestive enzymes while that food is going through your gastrointestinal tract to absorb all of whatever it is you ate in that one meal. But that kind of depends on how much food you're eating at that time. Similarly, if you're trying to build muscle and you have a couple more frequent feedings throughout the day compared to just one. You will spike mTOR, or you'll trigger mTOR is probably the more appropriate terminology, multiple times a day instead of probably just once a day. And again, a lot of that's going to be dependent on how much food you're eating. If you're trying to build muscle, you're trying to add mass to your frame. It stands to reason that you probably are going to benefit from couple more frequent feedings, 2 to 4 meals a day, decent amount of protein at each meal. And again, if you eat all of it at once, 200, 250, 300 grams of protein a day, some of that is probably just going to go through you and not get absorbed. Now, as far as how big of a difference that actually is, um, I was thinking if I had to put a number on it, maybe 5%. Jonathan would probably know better than I would, but if I had to make a guess on in terms of the mass balance model, how big of a difference that really makes one meal a day versus three or four, the 5-10% maybe, just a ballpark a number.
Yeah, I think that is accurate as well for like the average metabolically healthy person. If you're over fat, then maybe it means that 20% of it is a carbohydrate insulin model. I know people that are really obese that have just got so much fat on them, and they're like, "Oh, I'm eating, what's the forbidden word? Calories. I'm eating 1,000 calories per day." And I see them doing it, and I trust them because I see them update the Instagram post. But they're doing it for about a week and they don't drop any weight. So that tells me the body is really adaptive. And if you put the wrong signals in it and it secretes the wrong hormones, that could be detrimental to your goals. So, I think that is a pretty accurate assessment. Now we've got a question from Tivana on the trail. So there's a new channel subscriber. So I appreciate you coming by. So any tips for lean slow gainers to build lean mass? Oh wow, this would be we'll be here for a while, Jerome. What would you say? Say your top 3 points. If you were to go to the gym, spot out the average like noob in the gym, hard gainer, whatever. How do I eat? How do I train? And how do I recover?
Sure. Yeah, this should probably be its own video at some point, and with Jonathan slowly titrating out members only videos that premiere to channel members first. I'm gonna make note of this with my fancy red pen that this is probably a topic that Jonathan and I should discuss more at length in its own dedicated video at some point. But if I had to pick just a couple of bullet points, for people that are trying to build muscle mass, and this is applicable to not just slow gainers or hard gainers, but anyone looking to improve their physique. Number one is going to be training intensity. Intensity is the primary factor most directly responsible for stimulating growth. Once that growth has been stimulated, the next thing you need to do is cautiously monitor your recovery. Too much physical stress creates a deeper inroad with which the body has to recover first before it can overcompensate with bigger, stronger muscle. And number three, then, would be supplementing your training with a species appropriate diet, carnivore diet, as close to 100% carnivore as you can. Maybe if you're really, really struggling and you're almost painfully thin, I would probably incorporate some raw milk, maybe some raw dairy as a way to get some animal based carbohydrates. A little bit extra Randall cycle activation could help put a little bit of mass on. It's not necessarily the worst thing contextually. And number four would be sleep. Now, out of those four, one, two, three, and four, I think are, and I'm probably forgetting a few, I would say are far more important than uh, almost any other factor in terms of like exercise selection. Do I do one set, two sets, three sets? Um, a lot of those things that people tend to fuss about, supplementation. I would say diet, intensity, volume, and frequency are going to be one, two, three, and four by a long shot. And you could probably interchange the rankings on those. What do you think, Jonathan?
Yeah, I agree with everything. Of course, it's just hard to really narrow down a few things. like if I was to go back in time and say I had an issue with gaining lean mass, what would I be thinking? I'd be thinking, okay, one, I need to set my protein intake at a certain level. How you know that? You eat more protein, then stop eating when you're not hungry anymore. Then as you get further and further down the line in your training career, you'll find you'll need slightly more as you pick up more mass and build more strength. So that's one point. Second point, you couple that protein with enough fat. So use that as your leverage for energy. So if you don't feel as strong in the gym, you're not progressing from workout 1 to workout 2 to workout 3 and so on. Increase the fat slightly. If you get to a point where you start to feel sick, maybe slow it down a little bit. So your body has to adjust. So any kind of change we ever recommend on this channel, you're not going to implement it immediately unless it's something we specify you do that straight away. There's always you titrate things up. Your body will not like you if you just chuck, I don't know, 300 grams of fat at it in the first go. Probably outside of diet, like a second point, probably get the training right. So there's not many great trainers out there, at least from what you can see online. You have to really dig. They do exist, but you have to really dig. What I'd probably recommend doing, if I'm honest, for your money, for your time, I'd probably book a consultation myself, Jerome. Wait, that one. Yeah, I'd book a consultation, even if it isn't with us, someone that knows about training that has obviously gotten reproducible results. And how you know if they're good or not, I mean, you'll find out soon enough. And if you get injured, that's probably the reason why you shouldn't go back to them. So training, at least training effectively, getting the muscle groups involved is really important. Remember, it's bodybuilding. That's what people are trying to do when they're trying to build mass, regardless of what their competitive status is. They are a bodybuilder. They're not a power lifter. They're not trying to move a weight from A to B. So trying to make all the work happen from the muscles. Probably a third point, I'll be conscious of being, believe it or not, as sedentary as possible, just to make sure that all your recovery capacity is put towards training. And with that being said, I'm not saying lie in bed all day, because it's not going to serve you. I mean, doing your daily tasks, but not then going out there deliberately to say, oh, I need to hit 20,000 steps per day, or I need to do 50 sets per workout. You know, that's not where you need to go. What you need to do is just do the right amount of training, recover, wait until you're recovered. That's probably another topic for another video. And eat enough. So that's it. I know it sounds really like stereotypical, like cliche or whatever. Like, here's the 3 things, but that is the truth. You'll never know how big and strong you can get until you've tried it. You'll never know how close your limit is until you do everything perfectly for months on end. When you get to a point where you're so disciplined, then you'll know what the keys are. And for me, it seems to be recovering properly and getting the food in. I know I can train hard, that's not the issue, but for a lot of people it is the recovery, knowing when to stop digging that hole.
Yeah, well said. I smiled and laughed a bit because you don't hear a lot of fitness or bodybuilding enthusiasts telling people to consider being less active. But that's a very valid point in terms of recovery. People that are very, very active can have trouble due to that added energy expenditure trying to put mass on. So, but thank you for the smile and the laugh, Jonathan.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Jerome and I talk off air sometimes, not breaking confidentiality of everyone, but we talk about people we know that have done a lot of stuff, and they take it either too far or too low in terms of volume. Like, I know someone that's trained like once every month, done like 1 set, and like, we're not going to target every muscle group in 1 set. And the same kind of thing. I know someone that does 185 sets in a workout, in a week. They're not recovering from that. They're not building anything from that. They might as well just be doing cardio. It's the same thing, because there's no way if you train that hard you can recover from it properly. Now, we've got another comment here from Moem. I like the new name. Yes, I should probably address this, as it's new to my channel as of like yesterday. So, I originally started off my YouTube channel as, I think it's just Jonathan Griffiths, which is my name. I changed it to Composition Consultant, which is my brand, basically. For those of you that don't know, Jerome's brand is 18-Minute Fitness, and his YouTube channel is Jerome Armstrong. So the most standard spelling you can probably get. So please subscribe to him if you haven't found him yet. For whatever reason that is, I don't know. What else? Yes, so I've noticed today, at least, I've picked up more subscribers than I have in past days whilst having my name as Carnivore Muscle, and it's very unique because I don't know any. I don't think I know any carnivore bodybuilders really that kind of do the strict carnivore diet, as in 99% animal foods or whatever it happens to be. I know lots of people that are kind of ketovore, but not strictly speaking carnivore. Of course, there are people like Dr. Sean Baker, but he's not world renowned for being a bodybuilder. He's world renowned for being a top athlete. So his name is Dr. Sean Baker. That kind of sells itself. He's a doctor, and everyone knows who Sean Baker is. He doesn't have to do all these little tricks and shenanigans behind the scenes to pick up subs. So, but yeah, Carnivore Muscle, it's quite catchy, and I thought it's relevant and it's accurate. So yeah, that's basically it. So I've addressed that one now, so we can get to everyone else's question. And I apologise, Ben. I did see your question, but while I was looking for your question, I found 2 videos which I've linked in the chat, which they'll probably be helpful for you to look at. So, a video which is when to take time off, and the other video is training after illness. But we'll obviously, because you've left a super chat, we'll still address it in this video. Right. So I'm just trying to put it on the screen, and the internet has completely died. So, Jeremy, do you want to kick this one off? And I'm gonna I'm just gonna close the door and turn the light on. So bear with me.
Sure, Ben. Super chat. The 1.99 British pounds. Do you still train when unwell or just recover? You're going to get slightly different answers for everybody on this one. My personal preference is to not train again until you feel that you are fully ready to exert another maximal effort. If you're sick, you should stay at home because you don't want to get other people sick. But if you have a home gym, or if you just really want to train, my general recommendation is to not train again until you feel that you're fully capable of exerting the highest degree of efforts and the highest performance that you were capable of doing. Remember that muscle fibers are recruited sequentially based on need. This is Henneman's size principle. It's the principle of orderly recruitment. The harder you push your muscles, the more tension you can safely generate over the course of a set, the greater the adaptive response will be, provided you supplement with appropriate diet. So if you're feeling a little run down, under the weather, maybe just 10% off, you're just really not feeling it that day, I generally recommend that people take an extra day so that when you go back that next day and you're ready to go in and get the work done, that you will have a better performance in the gym, which will lead to better results as a result of that novel stimulus. Some people, now, if you need, like, I have a client that goes to CrossFit 4 nights a week and she's unhappy with the results she's getting at CrossFit. So she comes to me because she feels that she gets results. But if you're the type of person that exercises on a somewhat regular basis because you need the mental or emotional release, then I would certainly weigh that option out. Maybe there is something else you can do instead. Maybe you can go for a walk. Maybe you can do some high intensity cardio. Those are things that you are going to have to make a value judgment on based on your personal preferences. But if we're strictly talking within bodybuilding and body composition, again, my personal recommendation generally is to not work out again until you feel that you were fully capable of exerting the highest degree of effort possible. What say you, Jonathan?
Yeah, I don't have a clue what he said, so I'm probably going to rehash the same points, but I'll probably agree with what you said anyway. Do you still train when unwell or just recover? I think it comes down to how much you like training and how much you want to perform at a given workout, whatever your goals are. I mean, if for example you're looking at your logbook and you're like, okay, I will not become bigger, more muscular, stronger, fitter, whatever, unless I do this workout, then you're going to know, okay, I'm going to have to take that time off, because doing workouts which are suboptimal or below your level. So think of each workout you do as like a level. So say 100 kilo, I don't know, shoulder press, done that for 10 reps, standardized perform, 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down. All right, you didn't rest in the middle or anything like, your form is the same. You've done 100 kilos, 10 reps, brilliant. Now if you feel run down, you feel like you're not strong, You know, when you're not feeling with it, you know, like you feel like you need like 4 cups of coffee. Ideally, if you know your goal is to become much stronger, much bigger, you're going to know you're not going to level up. If you're not strong, you will not level up. Now, if you do level up, that kind of tells me how hard were you pushing it the last session. You have to be very critical of yourself. Something I'm guilty of in the past, where I'd kind of think, I could probably do this sort of weight. Yeah, I'll train anyway. And I've exceeded the previous standard in my exercise regime. But I wasn't honest with myself a lot of the time. I wasn't counting my rep speed. I wasn't standardising my form. I was just lifting the weight for the sake of it. When you start to know that you're not strong, you'll find a way to cheat. That's how the body works. The body's always trying to find ways to leverage strength, even sometimes at the cost of injury and sacrificing form. So you have to be very standard with your form. Yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I'd really say on that, because I think Jerome would have covered the rest of it. But like I said, there'll be 2 more videos linked in the chat, which might be helpful. We may have elaborated more on given points if we haven't in this little segment.
Yep, well said. You pretty much said everything that I said, only much more concise and with that beautiful English accent of yours compared to my horrible Fargo-esque Midwestern accent.
Yeah, I know what you mean. All right, so Marlon's got another question. What is your opinion on early time-restricted feeding? We've done this question. I do not need to answer this one again. We're not doing as bad as I thought. We're getting behind the chat. Chloride. It might give you digestive distress. It will stimulate stomach acid production. That could be a good thing. But it could also be a bad thing. If you've got sufficient stomach acid from the chloride production, then you might just have the runs. So things like magnesium chloride are typically used topically as a spray or maybe a gel or a cream. So that'd be a better application of it. You can just mix it 1/3 magnesium chloride with 2/3 water. Put in a spray bottle, like a canister, those travel canisters, and that's how you'd apply it, like to your legs or your skin, just anywhere really. But be careful not to apply it to some areas if you've got particularly sensitive skin. Outside of that, if it wasn't chloride, I'd probably be using magnesium bisglycinate. So that's magnesium attached to 2 glycine amino acid, I don't know, molecules. And that'll help aid sleep by stimulating GABA. So it's a bit like taurine in a way, but it's a bit more specific in action. That's probably what I'd use. Would you know about this, Drew?
I know nothing of value. I would have just deferred that question to you, and if I got it personally from someone, I would have shot you an Instagram message. So I appreciate you answering that.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, taurine's a good one as well. Taurine does seem to help a lot of people. I still use it, and I've been a bit bad recently. I've only been doing about 4 grams in the morning, so I've missed out my 2 or 3 doses per day. How much difference has it made? I don't really know, but it's something I do stay on top of because it seems to help. The biggest benefit for me that I've noticed at the moment is that my hydration is better, at least I'm not as thirsty, and that I don't get cramps, and my exercise performance is better in that my heart rate doesn't elevate as much, which is very useful when you're trying to train hard but without getting gassed out. So
Whoop, not sure if Jonathan froze up. I think we're both having Wi-Fi issues for a little bit. I see. Okay, yeah, you look like you're all right. I had my Wi-Fi drop here at my work a lot recently, so maybe YouTube just doesn't like us.
yeah, maybe it's a real pain in the ass. Having to mute yourself every time you speak, or sorry, not speak, is really annoying. There's actually nothing coming through my laptop or my headphones that can be picked up from a microphone. So it seems to be unique to my microphone and the software that I'm using, at least that. Anything that comes through my screen to my computer will come from a microphone, as if my screen is part of my microphone. There isn't a button to fix that, unfortunately. I've resetted it, restarted it. updated my computer, updated the software, and I'm lost. So if anyone is an expert on Rode NT1 fifth generation microphones and the Connect software, by any chance, please let me know and email me and give me some help. I'm a bit stuck. But anyway, what's the best way to go regarding electrolytes? I don't have any. If I don't have any, I get migraines and feel weak. I don't know what I'm supposed to have to be having a load for the rest of my life, or even what type. This is one of those consultation issues because I don't know how much you're eating, how long you're doing it for. It's like one of those context specific kind of answers that I'd have to give. Like I said kind of earlier, a magnesium supplement will be useful, but it's not a fix. I'll be looking at things like the possibility it might have leaky gut, perhaps damage from past medications, perhaps your macronutrient intake or at least your balance isn't correct. So maybe you're eating too lean or too fatty. Maybe it's that you're stressed out. Maybe it's you're not sleeping well. Maybe something is going on. You'll have to rule it out one by one. So that's what I'd personally do. So I'll try the things I mentioned. So address all those, then go from there. What about you, Jerome? What would you suggest in this instance?
Yeah, this someone who has suffered from migraines quite a bit in the past. My heart goes out to you because it's a brutal condition to have on a regular basis. I would be careful with electrolytes. I mean, definitely get them if you need them, but the problem is the more frequently you have them, your body is going to get adapted to eliminating them at high rates. And then if you don't get them for a little bit, you will drastically alter in the amount of electrolytes that you have in your body, and it can actually trigger a migraine. So, um, for me, when I went on a ketogenic diet and then carnivore, and basically just salting my food to taste it, to me, it completely they're better off just salting their food to taste if they're eating 1 to 3 times a day, and then just drinking water when they're thirsty, fresh water. And for most people, that's good enough. If you find that you need electrolytes, I would I would at least entertain the possibility if you're having a lot that maybe you need to try and very slowly taper them down. And again, I went through this myself, and I thought like uh, early in my carnivore days, I saw a lot of influencers were selling electrolytes. They recommended adding them to their water. They're constantly drinking electrolytes. So I was mixing up my own, and I was mixing my electrolyte water largely to taste. And I found that if I went 2 or 3 hours without drinking any water, and I would continue to pee out, you know, the amount of electrolytes that I was getting in, it triggered a really nasty migraine for me. Um, so whatever you're having now, I would try and be consistent with that intake as possible if it helps keep those migraines away, and maybe see how you can handle very, very, very slowly cutting back on them. Um, Salts are great. You definitely need electrolytes, but too much can be problematic too. Um, and I don't think most people should necessarily be drinking the electrolytes that a lot of influencers promote.
Yeah, it's always about doing the smallest possible thing to resolve the issue. I mean, electrolytes, like you say, if you put a load in your system, your body's going to say, hang on a minute, I might keep this. I've got loads on tap now. I can just get rid of these as and when I need. The moment you don't take them, you have a long night, I don't know, you're sweating because you're busy with the missus. Okay, then maybe you're going to need more electrolytes again. So taper them down. That's a really good point. And what might suggest is kind of what I said earlier about taurine is they can help regulate electrolyte balance in the body. So it's one of its primary roles in the body. So that's a cheap amino acid supplement that is carnivore that you can buy. Very affordable. That would probably be a better transitional kind of thing than going to cold turkey and electrolytes alone, I think, at least. That's something worth investigating. I do notice a difference, so look at that. Now I'm going to get to the next question because I think we've kind of answered that question without going into many more.
Yeah, can I touch on one more point with electrolytes? I did a video, I think it was called something like "Be careful with electrolytes," and I just want to touch on the last part of this question. You don't know if you're supposed to be having a load for the rest of your life or even what type. Um, most electrolyte packets have surprisingly different levels of sodium versus potassium. And if you look at the amount of sodium and potassium in the body on a gram per gram basis, it's actually really, really close. You have about as much sodium in the body as you do potassium. It's very, very close. Some electrolyte mixes are about a 2-to-1 ratio of sodium to potassium. Gatorade and Powerade and sports drinks tend to be closer to like 3-to-1, almost 4-to-1. And then there are some products that are significantly higher in potassium than sodium. And sodium is potassium sparing. So I tend to think that's getting more potassium than sodium isn't necessarily a good thing, based on my limited knowledge of concentration gradients and how electrolytes work in the body. So the more consistent you can be now with what you're having right now that seems to keep migraines away, um, look at the amount of sodium and potassium that you're getting, look at how much you're salting your food, and if you can, again, gradually probably cut that back. Just I mean slight amounts, because you don't want to do anything that's going to trigger a massive migraine. In general, if you can move towards having less, I think that's probably going to be a little bit better long term. But do not do anything drastic right off the bat. Anyways, Jonathan, thanks for letting me ramble a little bit about that.
That's right. Yeah, I've just plugged two videos which I've made in the past. One with Colt and Mark Ennis, who I think, changed their viewpoints on electrolyte supplementation now. And one of them, which I made when I was an absolute noob on YouTube like 8-9 months ago. So you've got a lot of information there, and my viewpoint on electrolytes hasn't changed in that time. So consider I've spoken to about 200 or 300 carnivores in a consultation setting now, a lot of them with electrolyte issues. My viewpoint hasn't changed, so it seems to be I'm pretty accurate with what I'm suggesting, and that's the same as what Jerome's saying. So yeah, good stuff. Carnivore muscle speaks directly to my goals. I'm sure that I'm not the only one. Yeah, I have a lot of channel viewers that are like silent observers. It's kind of annoying because I wish they'd like pipe up. But every day I'm getting like Instagram messages like, "Oh, when's this video coming out?" I'm like, I've never seen your name before in my life. Why don't you ask me in the video so you can put the algorithm up a little bit for me? You know. How would you guys access when one has recovered from a workout, since we can't increase the performance? Okay, let me dissect this question. So, assuming someone can't increase performance, how would you assess when someone's recovered? Well, the fact is they haven't increased performance, therefore they're not recovered. So it might be the answer is in the question of it itself, I think. Now, if you're not increasing your exercise performance, and say you've done a leg workout on Monday the 1st, and say you're at, I don't know, Monday the 28th or something at the end of the month, then something's probably wrong. There's something probably wrong with your training or your nutrition. So that's probably where I'd look. So there's some bottleneck somewhere that's stopping you from recovering and getting better. That seems the most obvious thing. But I couldn't pinpoint that. I really wouldn't know. So I would recommend a consultation above all, because you'd have to send me all your stuff, everything you were doing, if that's what your issue was anyway. What do you think, Jerome?
Yeah, you're right that you can't get stronger every single workout, but you should be seeing improvements almost every workout for quite some time until you're nearing the upper limits of your genetic endowment for strength and muscle size. Um, the objective tracking of workout performance on a workout to workout basis is going to be the best indicator on whether or not everything that you've done up until that point has been sufficient in terms of recovery. But there are a number of kind of subjective feelings too. If you're feeling run down, if you're feeling tired, if you're still sore, if you just don't feel like training that day, it can be indicative that, perhaps you need an extra day or two before you do that again. The problem with recovery is there are so many factors that can contribute towards what your genetics will allow based on optimal recovery versus factors that could cause that to take significantly longer. It's kind of a moving target in terms of recovery. Um, in that regard, unless you're really, really dialed in with sleep, with nutrition, with supplementation, with the volume and frequency with which you're performing your exercise, it's really hard to kind of come up with rigid guidelines as far as how often people should exercise. At least if you're trying to optimize. Jonathan and I could come up with some pretty basic guidelines that work really well for a lot of people, but they're ultimately just a starting point. But if you do really well exercising every other day, and you have a number of nights where your sleep is absolutely terrible, you're not eating enough protein, you're eating too much crap food, you're not eating enough food in general. All of these are things that are going to cause you to probably need more recovery time. Um, so it's again, Jonathan nailed that this is kind of more of a consultation question, and hopefully you're not having this issue. But in general, speaking very broadly, if you're consistent enough with your diet, with your training, you kind of get a feel for it. And if your numbers are improving, then you're doing great. If your numbers aren't improving, if you're feeling run down, you're feeling tired, you're feeling sore, you don't want to train, then you probably need a little bit of extra recovery. But to really get those dialed in would take a consultation.
Yeah, and if that isn't feasible for whatever reason, I mean, we do. I mean, I'm going to put out a video on exercise perimeters. That'll be out, I'd say, in about 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a bit sooner. I've currently got a lot of stuff that I'm doing right now. I'm juggling about 10 things in my mind at any given point, but that is something that's high on my priority list. It kind of links to another question we've got, which I'll just quickly go through with Jerome while you're here, from Andre as well, which is, do you guys have an estimate to when you'll be releasing your book on training? So, a slight minor correction here. It'll be a book on training and nutrition. So you get 2 in 1. Excellent. Jerome, when are we releasing the book?
My inner dad joke wants to say when it's done, but um, and then I also want to jokingly say that that'll depend on how many pre-orders we get. But um, we're nearing completion. I think the biggest problem that Jonathan and I have, aside from really dedicating time, is we keep wanting to add more. Um, and and I've sang Jonathan's praises a lot, and like I also want people to know that like I'm paying Jonathan for coaching. I pay to be in his private Facebook group. I'm a paid member of his channel. Like I don't make a penny off of recommending anything for Jonathan. I'm happy to recommend him because I believe in what he's doing. But in my business here in my studio, and one of the things that draws me the most to Jonathan as a person and as a businessman is he's always committed to giving significantly more value than whatever people are paying for. Um, when people make a small investment on a product or service with him, he always over delivers. And this book, guys, we are really we are really going above and beyond with this book. Um, so it'll be done when it's done, and hopefully sooner rather than later. But this will not disappoint. And if people struggle after reading this book, then they probably need to read it again. Following the information in this book in terms of diet, in terms of nutrition, will put you ahead of 99% of the people that ever step foot in a gym seeking to make long-term significant changes to their body composition. And I so firmly believe that. I believe in my gut. We are not just writing a book on the carnivore diet and training. We are writing the end all be all book of what people really need to hear to make changes in their physique for once and for all. Instead of just buying a book, trying it, mix results, then you move on to the next program. Like we're trying to end this vicious cycle that is so prevalent in the diet and fitness industry. Um, so I apologize. I know it's a bit of a tangent compared to where your question was at. Uh, I don't even want to give a timeline soon. It should be nearing completion very soon. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to give people an estimation of how far complete I think we are, at least based on what I know we need to include in it, I'd probably say something between 80 and 85%, somewhere around about that. Now, of course, after doing that, we'll have to format it, which does take time in of itself. And like Jerome said, we're not taking the piss when we say it will be the best book on bodybuilding there is. At least it will have everything you need to build your body and lose fat. There's nothing out there which is revolutionary. The science hasn't changed. There's nothing which we can add or extrapolate from the literature that doesn't already exist, that is common knowledge amongst people that are experts in this kind of topic. So with it, with that being said, Jerome's got expertise working with people in varying capacities that have different health issues, ability levels, men, women, things like that. I've got experience working with lots of different people, different sizes. I was speaking to someone the other day. They're 180 kilos. And I've spoken to someone, I think they're about 35 kilos. A lady that's 35 kilos. So 75 pounds would be about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I've worked with both ends. So what we're coming up with is the median, the average person. This is what they need to do in the gym, and how they need to diet to get the results. And it's nothing, like I said, it's nothing revolutionary. All we've done is done the hard work for you. So all you have to do is follow what's in the book, and that's how you're going to get there. In terms of cost, we might have to discuss that off air, but it's not going to be something which is like $400, $500. It's not going to be something ridiculous. It'll be something which I would pay myself. Had I know myself, like the quality of information I'm going to put out, I would pay the amount that I'm going to charge for it. And Jerome will also have full input as well in whatever that happens to be. My pre-order, is that available yet? Unfortunately not. So I need to actually I need to sort my website out. So I'm under sort of some funny time constraints at the moment, which mean I can't sit at the computer for a very long time. Some of the things that I need to iron out will take me a considerable block of time. Maybe website, the work I need to do will take about 2 days straight to do. Then beyond that, it's work on the book, continue to create great videos that you guys like, continue to collaborate with Jerome. I've dropped a few things outside my life to make time for other things, just because of extenuating circumstances I have right now with my own personal life. So that, as you don't know, I no longer do the Carnivore Coach's Corner podcast, mainly because I've become a little bit ill. I'm not dying, but I'm a bit unwell. Long story short, so that's how I'm going about my day. But it is definitely the top priority of my list, if that makes sense. At least in the top 3 things I'm actively doing right now, besides being a good bloke and trying not to piss Jerome off too much when deplete him to the bone on diets.
Yeah, and the longer it takes, the more it just means that we're adding to it. So Jonathan put a number on it. It's funny because I think he and I could both sit and think about things like right now we're like the diet and the training is almost entirely done. Those sections of the book are almost entirely done. We're adding a Q&A section. I imagine we'll both probably insert some quality pictures of us in appreciable shape doing some of these exercises. I mean, we could take this book and we can make it 100 pages or we can make it 1,000 pages, depending on how detailed we want to go with some of these things. So for us, a lot of our frustration, if I can use that word, is trying to find that right balance of what's going to give people the most value, but still be a decent length to where they're going to read and absorb and apply as much of that information as possible. And I also apologize. I didn't mean to put Jonathan on the spot. I don't know if we ever discussed even doing pre-orders. I kind of just throw that out there. So I didn't mean to just put 2 days of work on your plate, but yeah, maybe it's something we should discuss offline.
Yeah, Jerome's good at that. He's good at putting words in my mouth and doing crazy stuff. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because it's a great opportunity. Imagine, I don't know, the best bodybuilding book there is in terms of training, the best nutrition book there is with, I don't know, some biochemistry in it. Subtle, but enough that you need to know. So some basic biology, then a good bit about owning individual experience. So what you'll find is we're probably not going to add references to it unless it's something that has to be referenced in a way. But you'll read through it and it all makes sense. Then you'll look it up yourself and think, oh yeah, that makes sense. It'll really shock you guys. Now, one of the sort of things I thought about was like, do I insert information about how to do it if you're a pregnant woman or if you've got a debilitating disease of some kind? And the thing is, things like that, you're going to spend forever writing about how, if, yeah, no, if, but, maybe. So that's sort of case where someone would have to book a consultation, because What I'm doing is just providing something for the average person, like 95% of people, that they can apply. Then even then, the principles will still apply to the 5% of people anyway. It just might mean that I have to do something a bit differently. So yeah. Now getting to the next question. Yeah, Mike, it's not full of fluff. There's nothing useless in the book at all. Every word you read in there is something either new, which we've come up with, which we think is useful, or something we've said in the channel in an informative video, either myself or Jerome separately, or a combination of us both on a live video, and then some. So also some stuff where we've come to the conclusion ourselves for our experience with ourselves and different people. And have you heard of Power Project channel with Mark Bell? I was wondering your thoughts on those folks and content they provide. Yeah, pretty good for the most part. I like their stuff. I think they teeter on that line between putting out useful information, putting out stuff that's just new for the sake of it. I think that kind of happens when you've got a big podcast and you've been doing it for so long. I think sometimes you just go into the weeds and something and it's like, it sounds a bit useless. So I'm quite picky about what I spend my time listening to nowadays. Like today I topped up on some of Jerome's content, something that he made about 3 months ago. Something which he made a video inspired from something which I kind of suggested to him in a way. He did the digging, found it out himself, then made an excellent video, and I thought, I'm gonna watch that again because I need to pick up some more knowledge here in case I've missed something. So, we're always learning, even if it's watching our own stuff back and thinking of a better way to put it together. So, yeah. Now, Jerome, what have you heard about Mark Bell's podcast?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I don't really listen to it much anymore, and I think you kind of nailed it. You're right. There's a balance. Certain big channels have to strike with creating content because that's part of their livelihood. But at the same time, you find that you answer a lot of the same questions over and over and over again, and it never gets boring. It never gets old. But for most of your audience, you need to kind of find ways to try and keep it refreshing and informative and applicable. Um, I don't know. I'm a big fan of Chris Bell and a lot of his documentaries. That we've all, at least if you're a bro, you've probably seen Bigger, Faster, Stronger. Some of his other documentaries have been fantastic. Trophy Kids, if you're a parent, I think is one of the hardest documentaries I've ever watched. Um, so I'm a fan of Chris as a filmmaker. Mark has certainly become a millionaire with the slingshot, and I think he runs his gym for free. He has kind of like the equivalent of West Side Barbell, but in California. And good on him. They seem like just a couple of nice, just average American guys that um, didn't have to compromise on who they were and were still able to contribute positively towards the world and make a difference. So I'm happy to see them doing as well as they are.
Yeah, cool stuff. Tivana said... So I'm just waiting for it to load. You both have lots of videos I haven't seen yet. I'll dig through those until the book is ready. Yeah, what you find is if you go back about 5 months roughly, my video quality is very bad, sound quality is crap. But the message remains the same. So if you've got the patience to actually watch through it and listen through it, it's good stuff. When I started my channel, I did a lot of interviews, mostly for the reason that I wasn't most confident on camera. I haven't spoken as much in my life as I have perhaps in the last 3 or 4 months, like in totality. Speech doesn't come naturally to me. So you'll notice when I put out recent videos, they're one, heavily edited, two, I try to speak very clearly. That helps people listen and understand my apparent accent. I think Jerome's about the same. So I kind of look at Jerome, who's got a really good way of putting things across. He doesn't really often stumble on words. I always find him interesting to listen to. So I listen to Jerome and find him quite inspiring. So yeah, look through my videos and Jerome's got a lot of stuff. I mean, you look through Jerome's videos, it's like everything's there, really. He's got like maybe 10 super duper videos, which are worth the weight in gold. They're excellent. So,
Thank you. Yeah, I should probably just delete 90% of my channel and just leave the quality stuff up. I try and do more kind of presentation style. The way that I have my personal YouTube channel and then I have a YouTube channel for my business. So a lot of what I create online is I view it as additional information for the clients that I have here in my studio, and a lot of it's very training oriented. Some of it's very diet oriented. Um, but I love going through and reading the studies and doing the research and reading the books and then organizing it in a way to where if I just went off the cuff, similar to how we do the carnivore muscle ramblings, I would probably miss a couple really important things that I want to say. So that's why I started going with more of like the presentation style, and I was happy to see Jonathan kind of go that same route. And maybe it's just me projecting my thoughts and my feelings onto Jonathan, but for guys like us, it's really easy, and it's nice to have our thoughts actually organized on paper so we can make sure we hit all the important points that we want to. Because there's nothing more frustrating than doing a 2 hour long video and then thinking like, shit, like I really wanted to say this one important thing and I completely forgot about it. And I think Jonathan and I have both done that dozens of times. Um, and touching on one of the last things that Jonathan said, I really feel like I owe him significant debt of intellectual gratitude.
You definitely do.
Had introduced me to the mass balance model a number of months ago, and I didn't understand it at first the way that he presented it, and it really caused me to do a lot of reading, and it changed quite a bit how I view diet, how I currently structure diets for people. Is primarily based on the mass balance model. I used to be a big carbohydrate insulin model guy before that. So I wanted to thank Jonathan for that because sometimes he'll say something or there'll be a comment here that I make notes about. And then it's like, great, now I need to do some deep diving and make a presentation on it. So thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, my pleasure. So what I've been doing recently is like I've been interviewing like Bart Kay or Harry Sopanos, and what I notice is they're very well informed considering they're not absolute experts in their own experiences at doing certain things to do with bodybuilding. But it seems to be accurate to what I found myself anecdotally as like a bro in a gym. So I've been interviewing those people and kind of like I'm extrapolating from what they say because I know it to be true, and I'm asking them the questions because I know what they're going to say. But they've got such a way of presenting, which I think, well, that's good, that's inspirational. Then I make my own video on that itself. So that's what I've been doing for the most part. It seems to be working quite well. I mean, there's a lot of people out there doing lots of YouTube videos and content and stuff, but there's not much out there on like specific information, like how do I transition to a carnivore diet? What is the Randall cycle? There's like 2 other people that have made a video on that or something. So I try to give people the information that they need, which I know is impactful to them, makes them understand it. So it's all good, someone saying, oh, the carnivore diet's great. Okay, why? Because you get rid of toxins. Well, there's more to it than that. That's just one of the many facets of it. So I tried to go around it so it's more convincing for people so they can apply the diet to themselves and send that sort of video to other people and find a benefit. So it's been very useful. Now, quick thing on pre-order. So sorry, Lambs, it's not available to pre-order yet. So Jerome's cracking up, the bastard. I think Jerome's trolling me. But yeah, it's not available yet. But it will be available when it's available. And I'll put something out to make it obvious. I'll say it in a live stream where I'll post something on the YouTube community channel. Look out for it in coming weeks, perhaps. That'll be the pre-order, so you could buy it in advance of the release date. So thank you for asking. We had a question on autism somewhere, but I don't know where it was.
Yeah, I saw that too. Oh, there we go.
There we go. So Marco John asked, do you think you can cure autism or lessen symptoms anyway? My answer is yes, you can lessen symptoms. To what degree? It depends ultimately on what you're able to achieve with the diet and what you can apply. Now, a lot of people with autism will have gut distress, so their transition to the carnivore diet will be sometimes more difficult than someone who doesn't have that issue. So for them, it's going to be a slower process and it's going to take longer for them to yield results. The main thing I've noticed, I know Jerome maybe can't speak on this specifically in this exact topic kind of way, but I know Jerome's had experiences where he's benefited from the diet, at least in like the anxiety, maybe the kind of cognition, like the day-to-day feeling, like the stress level. So maybe Jerome can speak on that a little bit better.
Yeah, thank you. I lean in the same direction. to my knowledge, I'm not autistic, so I get a little spicy when people say that like carnivore cures everything or fasting cures everything. Some things are just genetic, and I think certain conditions and symptoms can be um, enhanced, I guess is the word I'm going to use, by a poor diet. So it stands to reason that eating a more optimal diet can make things far more manageable. Um, but yeah, at least for me, so like, and I've talked about this before. Geez, almost a year ago. A year ago next month, my fiance left me, and it put me in a really dark place, and I was not doing well. And one of the things that helped,
I'm resisting pressing the button right now to make the sound.
you can do the sad trombone. It's okay. It's okay.
You sure? Okay, continue.
Thank you. And one of the things that really helped get me out of that was eating very, very, very strict and even like stupid high fat carnivore. I was eating like 85 to 90% fat. And I did put some fat on when I did that, but um it helped the stress be more recognizable, but less all encompassing and all consuming. Um, and I tried that figuring after listening to like a lot of paleo medicina, Dr. Zofia Clemens, her stuff, how the protocol she puts people on to cure a number of issues. So I figured, what the hell? Like I'm in a really dark place emotionally. So what have I got to lose? Um, so at least for me, it helped for a long time eating very high fat carnivore. As far as its ability to improve some of the symptoms and things associated with autism, don't know. I would lean in the direction it's probably not going to hurt. It's probably going to help cleaning up your diet. But I certainly couldn't speak from experience on that.
Yeah, I think the diet itself, getting rid of the plants and the sugar, is what's going to lead to less inflammation in the brain, less inflammation in the guts. There's the thing is, people always ask for like studies on the carnivore diet, and there aren't any studies on the carnivore diet. There are no causal studies on the carnivore diet. That's one of the biggest problems we have. So when I come to someone, I say, oh, it's done this. Okay, that's your experience. It's your opinion. I'm like, yeah, but by default, a carnivore diet is also a ketogenic diet in the most part. Maybe not specifically, it's not specifically the aim, but by default, your fat ratio is higher than your protein. So it kind of does work out that way in a sense. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel as angry as I used to, but my quality of life now is much better. But my circumstance of life, in some cases, in some specific ways, are much worse. Like, I think I would have flipped my lid if I was on a carbohydrate diet. I'm dealing with some of the things I've got to deal with at the moment. I can't imagine what Jerome would be like. He'd probably be boiling out the ears. I don't know.
I have a story I'll tell you offline about something that happened yesterday, but I'm usually pretty calm, relatively stoic, but I got a little heated yesterday, but I'll tell you about that off camera.
Yeah, my current block count for this last week, guys, is about 5 people. So 5 people have been lucky enough to be blocked by me. So yeah, I'm pretty sensible, I'm pretty fair with my comments to people, but people don't like the critique videos apparently because I'm not nice to 21-year-old Tristan Lee. I'm bullying him apparently. So I need to learn my lesson and stop picking on 21-year-old men about diet and training, specifically how they're wrong.
I just don't. I mean, if you get a following that's that big, like you get some thick skin that comes with it. So I don't know. I kind of like when I get haters on my channel. It boosts the engagement. So
yeah, for me, it's the time I have to spend replying to them. So I had one today on that video that you mentioned specifically, and he was talking about the blue zones. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. So I sort of said, oh, the longest living population eat the most amount of meat per capita, Hong Kong. Oh, but they also have more wealth. I'm like, yeah, it's epidemiology. It's not the best kind of study we have, but it's a study we have. And then he says blue zones. And I'm like, okay, so you're telling me my study isn't valid, but yours is. And they're both kind of like, I mean, one's kind of like survey questionnaire kind of thing, and the other one's just like based on how much meat people eat. I don't know what a better measurement is because I've not looked in detail at the studies, but it seems bizarre to me. Then you give them the mechanisms, you sort of say fiber's not good for you, and they say, oh, but it helps you uptake vitamin K2 and B5. And I say, well, just eat more K2 from the right food where it does exist in a bioavailable form and stop putting things in your gut which apparently, according to research on Crohn's disease sufferers, the only study we have on fiber suggests it's bad. Actually, no, it tells us it's bad based on that subject or participant group. That's the only study we have, and it says don't eat it. So, I mean, obviously we're extrapolating. The average person doesn't have Crohn's or IBS, but a lot of people have digestive issues. Maybe it's not quite the same, but maybe it does show something. Maybe it is some association we could draw from. So it's definitely an inference I'll be looking at. But yeah, it's always about science and trying to convince people what they do and don't know. But the thing is, people don't understand the hierarchy of science. They don't understand what a gold standard to study is. They don't realise that a lot of the science that comes out is very poorly made. Like even in my video that I made, Meat, Fruit and Honey, I said at the very start, I said, this isn't a great study, guys. This is just me. This is what I have. This is exactly what I did. You can trust me what I did because I'm not a liar, but the end of the day is my anecdote. And people still didn't respect my anecdote. So what are you going to tell me? You know, it's crazy. But yeah, I just go to the gym, make some videos, eat a sensible diet, try not to be ill, and try to collaborate with like-minded people that like to put out good information and help people out, like Jerome. So
I laugh because I'm thinking like if you did the typical fitness channel and like all your content was like the 5 best bicep exercises, the one shoulder exercise you need to be doing to bring out your rear delts, like your channel would probably be a lot bigger, but the actual amount that you would be helping people would probably be significantly less. Um, so yeah, lots of laughs today on stream.
yeah, I had a guy today message me, and I think about like 200 kilos. I'm not got around to replying to me yet, but he's inspired. Apparently, he's 200 kilos. I've never been 200 kilos. Sometimes you can seek or reach motivation, inspiration from someone that isn't even the same as you. You know, maybe they have something similar to you in some way. Maybe they relate to you. So it's always worth putting out a video. Apparently, I don't relate to many people because I'm a 28-year-old guy with all these issues. So that's why some of the bigger channels don't often feature me because I don't know, I'm a big bloke. It doesn't sit well apparently, but that's it. But yeah, Jeremy and I can talk about that off air.
Are we doing the quiet game?
Yeah, I think so. Part of it's probably the Wi-Fi, part of it's the quiet game. Yeah, Western price ancestral diets vary. They do vary. It's hard to work out what ancestral diet is, like the exact diet, because it might even vary from tribe to tribe, which we know it does. So, what we know about most tribes is, at least from what we can tell, different N15 isotope data. I don't know, new zinc isotope data, and people that have been to these areas, people that have been writing books about it historically. It seems to be an animal-based diet with some plants, sometimes at some points, collected, harvested, fermented in a certain way. So that kind of tells, okay, we need to be eating meat for the most part. It's most biologically compatible. But yeah, the chances are, guys, if it's anything to do with carnivore, anything to do with nutrition, anything to do with training, unless it's powerlifting, it's not really my area, but I've read it or I've heard about it, I've seen a video. In nearly all cases, nothing seems new to me anymore at this point. About, I don't know, 3.5 years in, I've probably heard of most of it. But yeah, one of the good books I had was by Frank Tofano, believe it or not. He wrote a diet. The book is Ancestral Indigenous Diet, and it's not well made. It's not, the book format is crap. What the content of it is, like, it makes sense and it's helpful to people. So yeah, I mean, I'm not plugging this stuff to buy my stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we also need to be a little bit careful. Just have a grain of salt when we're looking at what indigenous populations eat, because they're not eating for optimal health. They're eating to survive. And like Jonathan said, they eat primarily what's available to them. So people should look at Mary Ruddick, who has lived and visited a number of different tribes and cultures. And she lived with the Hadza for a while, but she talked about how different the Hadza diet was compared to a couple of neighboring tribes in the same area. Or sorry, not the Hadza. I think she lived with them too, but also the Maasai, um, compared to how they eat. Uh, and there are nearby pygmies that eat drastically different. There are other nearby tribes that eat drastically different. Um, Hunter gatherers don't want to die. So while we can look at things and draw inference from things like radioisotope studies that show pretty definitively that humans were, apex predators and hyper carnivores, and we're really that's one piece in a puzzle. Another piece is physiology, the comparative anatomy, nutritional biochemistry, endocrinology. These are all pieces of the puzzle that Jonathan and I, and certainly far more intelligent people like Bart K. Well, Jonathan and Bart are, up here, and I'm just way down here,
Much lower.
much lower. But we're all drawing inference based on the available information that we have, and from that, it seems like it's painting this big picture that the optimal human diet is a purely carnivorous one.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. Nothing to add really in that point. We're going to wrap it up now because Jerry needs a wee. I'm getting quite tired, and I've got one midget and one slightly less midget to look after tomorrow. So I look forward to doing that. And Sophie's probably going to go to sleep soon. She's working all day and she'll work tomorrow. So it's got to be well, it's not really an early night for us, but it's a night anyway, so we're going to sleep. Now, what I was going to say. So I'm going to plug all my stuff because I feel a responsibility to do it for your own benefit. You being the viewer, the listener right now. So what I do offer is diet and training plans. They're not something where you get something I've made on a PDF, then send it to you, then I charge you money for it. They're still custom to you. They do take me about an hour or so to write out for the diet or training plan separately. They are basically information that you give me, and they are exactly specific to you. So what do you want if I was working with you? My consultations are for the same price as a diet or training plan. For 40 minutes, you can have a chat with me. Come with a list of questions. Give me your backstory, your kind of goals, things like that. Tell me what's wrong or what's going right. I'll be able to sort of aid you in some kind of way. In every case, I've been helpful and someone's reaped some benefit from my consultations. So work that one out. The other thing I offer is coaching as well. Now, if you want to get on the coaching at the current price, I will do that sooner rather than later because it will be going up in coming weeks, maybe up to a month. I'm not going to solidify that statement yet, but it'll be going up in price very soon. Now, what else I offer the Exercise Specifics ebook, Exercise Specifics 101. It's on my website, compositionconsultant.com, under the plans and services page. Jerome and I both wrote that. Now, Jerome, where can people find you? What do you offer? And what do you think about getting your degree in walking?
All right, so for people in Southeast Wisconsin, I own a personal training studio called 18 Minute Fitness. You can find me on YouTube by looking either for 18 Minute Fitness. It's my business channel. It doesn't have nearly as many people following it. Otherwise, search for Jerome Armstrong. That's the best way to get a hold of me. Other than that, just annoy Jonathan if you want to talk to me, and he'll pass along my contact information.
Yeah, that's Jerome up there. So you'll find him. He's good. He's one of the most helpful people online. You won't find anyone that sort of really goes to town to help you out. So I would recommend him highly. He doesn't get any kickbacks from me at all because I'm a greedy bastard. So yeah, so it's worth checking his stuff out. And all of his videos, go back as far as you like. They're all very useful, very informative, and they're very unique as well. So you'll like the way he puts things out, and it's very clear, very deliberate, very specific. Bring a notepad, you'll find out a lot of information that you probably wouldn't have known already.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you for the plug.
All right, I'm off now. Jerome's off. Good night, everyone, and take care. And thank you for joining Carnivore Muscle Ramblings live Q&A, segment number 45, featuring Jerome Armstrong, myself, Carnivore Muscle, forgot my name, and Sophie Fisher, who popped in earlier. If you want to subscribe to her as well, her YouTube channel is Muscle Mama Sophie. That's linked earlier in the feed, in the live feed. So take care, guys. Cheers.